The U.S. State Department estimates that 800,000 victims are trafficked worldwide each year, with half of them being under the age of 18 years old. Sex trafficking is the most common form of modern-day slavery and the third largest global criminal enterprise. On a smaller scale, it brings troubles to the United States. After doing some research to become more informed myself, today I will share with you the problem of sex trafficking in the United States, as well as a possible solution to this issue. Sex trafficking in the United States is a problem that needs to be addressed. The term and where it takes place is often a large misconception. When most people think of sex trafficking, they usually think of young women being beaten and abused overseas. However, it goes on today in the U.S. and some of our country's largest cities. According to Social Work Volume 55, U.S. citizens are more often victims of sex trafficking than foreign nationals. It also goes on to define sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is a recruitment, harboring, transportation, or obtaining of a person for the purpose of a commercial sex act, either through force, fraud, or coercion. It's also the process that delivers victims into prostitution. Sex trafficking takes place both into and within the United States. Trafficking into the United States brings about unnecessary issues. According to the Trafficking and Violence Protection Act, 17,000 victims are trafficked into the United States each year since 2009. Of the 17,000, 80% of them were women who were promised a job and a better life in America. Trafficking within the United States is an even more pressing issue. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 100,000 American youth are forced into the sex trade each year. There are a number of risk factors that play into this horrid practice, including age, poverty, unemployment, previous sexual abuse, and a lack of family support. Of all the risk factors, age seems to pose one of the biggest problems on American soil. Domestic minor sex trafficking is the commercial abuse of children through buying, selling, or trading of their sexual services, mainly through pornography or prostitution. According to experts, the average starting age for these victims is between 11 and 14, but some of them were as young as 5 years old. Since prostitution is illegal within the United States, children usually become involved in sex trafficking through a pimp. Modern-day TV, video games, and music depict pimps as admirable rebels who are hip and stylish. Pimping is glamorized by the American culture, which accounts for the growing number of youth that are lured into the sex trade. According to an article in the Christian Science Monitor, once youth begin working with a pimp, they oftentimes feel trapped and develop what is called Stockholm Syndrome, which is bonding with those people that hurt you in order to survive. This is seen in the 2.8 million children that run away or are thrown out of their homes each year, who become at higher risk for being sexually exploited because they have nowhere else to go and nowhere else to turn. Young ones are at risk for being drawn into the trade, but there are even greater risks once they're involved. According to the Military, Medical, and Pharmaceutical Journal of Serbia and Montenegro, trafficked victims are beaten, raped, limited in movement, denied food and water, drugged, and tortured. They're also at a much higher risk for developing AIDS and other STDs. After talking about the problem of sex trafficking in America and some ways in which people become involved and put at risk, let me move on to a possible solution that could be promising to Americans. There are many possible solutions to this problem, but today I'm going to focus on just one. According to Professor Donna Hughes of the University of Rhode Island, possibly the strongest solution to ending sex trafficking is confronting and stopping the demand for it. According to the Solutions Journal, the key factor in driving the demand for sex trafficking is the fact that it's more profitable than old world slavery. There are 4 components that make up the demand for sex trafficking, including the men who purchase the sex acts, the exploiters of the sex industry, the state itself, as well as the culture that tolerates sexual exploitation. The men are the driving force behind sex trafficking. They use victims for entertainment, emotional gratification, and violence. Most of the time when we speak on sex trafficking, we focus on the victims. While this is important, we need to shine more light on the nameless and the faceless men, their decision to purchase these acts, as well as the proper way to identify them if we ever wish to end this behavior. The second component to the demand are the exploiters, which includes the traffickers and pimps. They're the only ones that are benefiting from this practice by making a profit off of it, as well as corrupting government officials in order for the trafficking of these women and children to take place. We must make the profits of sex trafficking unappealing, and officials need to take a stand for what's morally correct and ignore the blatant advertising by these exploiters. The state also passively contributes to the demand for victims as well. Destination countries such as the United States ultimately control the demand for sex trafficking because they are wealthier and therefore more powerful. In accordance, our government has the power and the ability to make stronger laws and policies against sex trafficking and must do so in order to put an end to it. The last part of the demand that needs to be addressed is the normalization and toleration of prostitution. The American culture plays a large role by portraying sex trafficking and prostitution as a quick and easy way to make a lot of money. Churches could step in and play a large role due to their moral authority and describe the harms of sex trafficking to the people in its community. This could help combat increasing sexual exploitation and its normalization. We must remember the four components of the demand and the proper ways to address them if we wish to end this problem. Individuals can also take a stand by supporting organizations that fight against sex trafficking. Today I've shared with you the problem of sex trafficking in America, as well as a possible solution through confronting the demand for it. Individuals often tend to overlook occurrences such as these because they believe that it could never happen to them or people they know. However, it goes on daily right underneath our noses. We as Americans have the power to stand against and end trafficking if we only take the proper steps in the initiative to do so. Don't let somebody you know get stuck in a traffic jam.